Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your host, Adam Emmert.
It's unbelievable. I can't wait to never see Big Guns Hockey League ever again in my life.
And Brandan Schultz.
How is that unsportsmanlike even? To me, that seems overly sportsmanlike. That's extra sportsmanlike.
Go Hawks!
On a quest to own the West, yippee-ki-yay, we make the ground shake. On game day, 12 man, yeah, he's feeling it is vital.
This is the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandan Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, Montana Seahawker Adam Emmert.
Hey, Brandan, fired up today, man. I got my pitchfork sharpened, got the torches blazed. I'm on the warpath today, Brandan. You don't even know. You want to know why? You want to know why?
I kind of want to know why.
All right, fire Bevel. I'm ready to fire Bevel.
What?
I can't believe it. This is terrible. Now, I mean, he finally has his offense turned around after a whole half a season. It took him so long after his star quarterback was injured and all these new offensive linemen and all the running backs injured. You know, he's got these creative plays. It's time to fire Bevel. I'm tired of these 30-point outbursts. It's awful. Tired. Let's
Is this
fire
because of Trayvon Boykin being in a running back? Because, it's just a couple plays.
No, it's just the idea that, through the whole first half of the season, fire Bevel.
Yeah.
The guy that takes us to 2 Super Bowls, wins a playoff game for us every single year. He's been offensive coordinator, and now you see the offense come together yet again in another cool game against the Eagles. I just wanted to make sure all the people that scream fire Bevel all the time felt a little dumb to start the podcast out.
Well, thanks for alienating about 90% of the audience, Adam.
No, I love him. I just, just a little, hey, maybe don't fire Bevel. That's all I'm saying.
Well, he did have some interesting plays that we are going to talk about, and so many records and milestones this week that we have to talk about. Mm-hmm. In addition to, we're going to have to talk injuries because those really seem to pile up this week on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
That was a bummer. But what's not going to be a bummer is we have another trip to Prisco's World this week.
Oh, fantastic. Can't wait to get the ship fired up for that. Can't wait to go.
And we got a couple guys to talk to today. We're going to be talking to Anthony of the Knock on Sports show. It's a weekly show here in Kalispell, and Anthony's a big Bucs fan, so he invites us on his show every week to talk Seahawks. So we figured we needed to reciprocate and have him on our show to talk Bucs.
Oh, for sure. He knows his stuff too. So it was a fun conversation. I really like Anthony a lot.
And we're going to be doing a Seahawkers spotlight, talking to the president of the Tornado Alley Seahawkers, Josh Bay. And they have a cool effort that they're doing to help raise some funds for Haiti as well. So we'll be talking to Josh.
Absolutely. They're trying to help out the housing commissioner and his cause. And I think it's a pretty neat deal. So it's cool to spotlight that and let you guys all know as 12s how you can get involved yourself.
Well, Adam, let's get into this matchup against the Eagles. The Seahawks come away with a 26-15 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles at home in CenturyLink. And man, did Russell Wilson look great in this game.
Yeah, he's back. He looked, just like Pete Carroll said, normal once again. And by normal, that's otherworldly. Because he did some things in this game that there really isn't another quarterback in the league that can do it, or maybe another quarterback I've ever seen ever that they can do. We'll talk more about that, I'm sure. But man, Russell Wilson has this offense clicking. Him and Darrell Bevell are obviously on the same page on a lot of things. And look, it's really cool to see the offense start to come through. And a part of that too is Russell Wilson looked good because the offensive line looked pretty good, considering the level of competition they were going up against in that Philly front seven. You combine all of those things with a defense that looks solid yet again. Tyler Lockett looking good on special teams. Still got some kicking game things to clean up, but a dominant performance by the Seahawks, which is exactly what I said we were in store for.
No, it was definitely the performance we were looking for. And gosh, you mentioned that Philly front seven, they're up there in terms of, especially when you look at advanced stats and their adjusted sack rate, they're up toward the top of the league. Fletcher Cox, he's one of the best guys in the middle that you'll face. And really, you did see him in the backfield a little bit, but they definitely seem to have an answer for him. And going back to Russell Wilson, if there was any question about whether or not he was still healthy, I think he showed everybody that he is healthy, catching a touchdown pass from Doug Baldwin.
Graham is winged on the right side. The play fake. Here's the toss. Baldwin's going to throw back to Russell. He's got it. Touchdown, Seahawks. Are you kidding me? Doug Baldwin takes the end around to the right, stops, throws back to Russell Wilson. His first receiving touchdown of his NFL career from 15 yards out. The Seahawks pull out all the stops. Oh my goodness, what a play. They lead 22-7.
They end up going up 23-7 on that play, and that at that point it was over.
Yeah, it was curtains at that point. You know what's funny is Doug Baldwin was a giant fan of that play call, giving Darrell Bevel a little salute to the game between the birds, a little nod to that. Flipping the bird to the sidelines, because now that Marshawn's not on the team anymore, we definitely need somebody flipping off our offensive coordinator in the red zone now and then.
It kind of makes you wonder just if it's playful at this point, right? Like, this is what you do to your offensive coordinator just to have a little fun once in a while.
I think it's 50-50. I think it's 50-50. I think it's a little playful, but in jest, I think that there's some truth to it hidden in there, because basically Doug feels like he's better at catching touchdown passes than throwing them.
I definitely got the sense that Doug Baldwin would much rather catch a touchdown pass than throw one. But man, did he do a heck of a job to avoid the rushing linebacker on that play. 55 kind of coming at him, and he just able to get the ball off. Yeah, it was impressive.
He stood there and still made an accurate throw. That was just cool to see Russell being, so much more healthy that he's able to go out and do things like that. And it wasn't just that. It was some of the scrambles. It was his escapability out of the pocket and just avoiding pressure. And then really the scramble on the touchdown pass to Jimmy Graham. That was so special. That entire play that he made there. It's unbelievable.
3rd down and 11 for Russell. Empty backfield from the Eagles 40. Russell steps up in the pocket. He's got to scramble left. Now he looks. Pump fake. Now he throws downfield. A back shoulder throw. Jimmy Graham 10. He cuts back inside middle of the field. 5. Touchdown Seahawks. What a play by Russell to fight his way free. Finds Jimmy Graham. How, I don't know. And Graham turns it into a touchdown from 35 yards out. And the Seahawks go on top 12-7.
Rabel was puzzled on that play. I go back and I watch that play, and I'm still not quite sure how Russell Wilson managed to, 1, get the ball around the defender coming at him, and 2, put the kind of touch on that pass to where Jimmy Graham could get it and make a play, and then goes all the way to the end zone.
Well, it's just the whole contortion of his body on the throw, with his feet basically pointing to the sidelines, and then taking his shoulders and bending at the waist so that his feet and shoulders are completely perpendicular to one another, to square his shoulders up to the direction he's throwing, and then to throw away from his momentum back over, into the field of play and hit Jimmy Graham with accuracy, and then to watch Jimmy Graham and know which way he's going, and to put all that together in the matter of an instant. That's a magical play. That is a special throw. There's not many human beings on the planet that's ever been able to throw a football like that. It breaks almost every rule of quarterback. It really does. If you haven't seen the still shot that people have up there of Russell just before he threw the ball, he's Gumby, man. Or he's a contortionist. He should try out for freaking Cirque du Soleil. It was unbelievable.
I just can't figure out how he did that. It's kind of like when, Tiger Woods at the top of his game, being able to hook a golf ball around a tree at about 80 yards and take just a huge bend and land it on the green right on the within about 5 feet.
Yeah, using a club that's two club lengths shorter than the average dude would need to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're physical freaks. It's unfreaking believable. And when you have the passing game working like that, where Russell Wilson's able to get out of the pocket a little bit and make those secondary plays on top of the primary plays that he was just dropping dimes from the pocket, pretty much all game. You add that up, and then you put in a running game, an effective running game in with that. This offense is a 30-point-a-game juggernaut. it's difficult to stop. I don't know that there's one defense out there that could keep them under 25 points when they play like this.
Well, and if they do have a defense that could keep them under 25 points, all those other teams don't have an offense that can seemingly score 25 points unless they manage to get turnovers on the opponent's side of the field. And Russell Wilson is not turning the ball over. As a team, in this last game, season highs in yardage with 439, 7 yards per play, 152 rushing yards, 5.1 rushing yards per carry, and no turnovers in this game. Just an incredible day, and a big reason why it got started off that way, especially in terms of rushing, was the 72-yard touchdown run by C.J. Prosise.
Prosise again, single setback, and he gets the handoff. Again, waits. Again, has an opening. He's across the 30, 35, 40. He could go midfield. 40, 30. They're chasing it. Are they going to get him now? 10, 5. Touchdown! Seahawks! No flags. C.J. Prosise, the rookie from Notre Dame, outruns the Eagle defense 72 yards to pay dirt, and the Seahawks are on the board 6-0.
That was a fun run, too. That's one of the longer ones we've seen over the last couple seasons, and it really showed off, Prosise's elusiveness. It showed off his vision, and it showed off his speed all in one play. And the funny thing is they ran it pretty much in the same exact gap the previous play, and he picked up 8-9 yards. Mm-hmm. I mean, using, again, that same kind of little wiggle at the beginning of the run, and he left a dude just shaking in his boots on the 72-yarder. One of the corners, I believe, had come up, or maybe it was a safety, but basically just juked him out of his boots and then turned on the Jets. And he's a special player if he can ever stay healthy. I mean, the idea that he broke his shoulder late in the first half, God, what a bummer, man. I couldn't be more bummed out about that. This kid's a player.
Like you said, we haven't seen a run that long in a long time. I saw people saying it had been about 15 years since we've seen a run that long. And that whole play, looking at that play, Doug Baldwin, for one, had a huge block to break open that hole early on. Doug Baldwin is a great player. This guy needs to be voted into the Pro Bowl because not only is he catching touchdown passes, he's throwing touchdown passes, and he's laying blocks all in the same game.
He's a complete player. He's a precise route runner. He's got maybe the best hands in the league. His vertical is off the charts, and his ability to sit down in zones and find those little zones when Russell is on the move. He's one of the best to do it right now. He's a top 3 receiver in this league. And he won't get the shine and he won't get the love because he's on the Seahawks and nobody thinks that the receivers could ever be much of anything. But, I mean, this receiving core is off the charts and it's led by him. And I'm a big fan of his game.
And now he's moved into legendary status as far as Seahawks receivers. Up to 5th place on the Seahawks all-time receiving list. He passes Joey Galloway, who is fairly infamous for his time and left Seattle, I think, a little bit earlier than we wanted to see. But that didn't turn out too horribly. But so now looking at the guys ahead of Doug Baldwin on the all-time receiving list, Bobby Ingram, who was an incredible possession receiver and didn't spend his whole career in Seattle. Started off with the Bears. Exactly. Darrell Jackson, who another one of the all-time Seahawks receivers. Brian Blades, who had over 7,000 yards. And then, of course, Steve Largent with 13,000 yards. Baldwin has
that's
a few.
Out there ways.
He's got a few yards to go before he catches Largent.
But I mean, that's kind of in the sights, right?
That's what I mean.
Look at that.
He could pass Bobby Ingram by the end of the year.
Yeah,
then that's 3 guys. 3 just Darrell Jackson, Brian Blades, Steve Largent. Those are the top 3 guys of all time for Seahawks for receivers.
Right, and Largent being maybe 1A best receivers of all time.
Yeah,
like him and Jerry Rice.
Right.
I mean, pretty crazy. So yeah, Doug Baldwin's just crushing it out there. Another guy who was kind of crushing it during this game was Thomas Rawls, man. Laying the wood and crushing a Philadelphia Eagle defender when they made the mistake of thinking he might go out of bounds.
Rolls in the backfield and he gets it. Stutter steps at the line, fights his way out across the 45 to the 47. That is the kind of run that we have gotten used to seeing. Michael Kendricks, the linebacker, comes over to make the tackle. But Thomas Rawls, welcome back, young man. A 9-yard pickup.
Yeah, just lays into the dude to finish off the run. And Rawls, just listening to him leading up to this game in his press conference, he was ready to make a play like that.
You knew you were going to get one of those this game. You knew you were. And what was cool about watching Thomas Rawls back here is that he looked a lot like the back that we saw at the end of last year and a little less like the back that we saw in, the game and a half that he played or so early on in the year. He had that kind of quick burst. He had the shiftiness. He had the vision. And then he had the speed to get outside. He had one run that I think he could have turned into maybe about a 30-yarder if the turf monster doesn't get him.
Yeah.
But a good, solid return for him. Knowing that we have him back with Procise going down is a gigantic relief. It makes the release of Christine Michael feel a little premature now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And we did get an email on that. Says, here's one from Nathan in Bloomfield. Says, well, what a situation we are in now. I must admit, I thought it was a pretty dumb move to draft 3 running backs, but now it seems we can't keep a running back healthy for longer than 2 games. If you ask me, Christine Michael should be happy that all he left with was a sore butt from the door hitting him. Hopefully Alex Collins and a probably pretty banged up Thomas Rawls, and that was a quote from Pete Carroll, can be the ones who finally get the running game going again. Go Hawks.
Yeah, go Hawks, Nathan. As far as Rawls being banged up, it sounded that's more like he was just sore after having his first game of contact.
Right.
But he wasn't injured. You know what I mean? So I don't worry about that. He'll
by
be
banged
right
up, Coach Carroll is saying that he's sore.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And
he's fine.
And Garrett Nespinola says, with Procise out, do we pick up another running back? I think we should have held on to C. Michael and been a bit more patient with Pope.
Well, maybe. I mean, you can't. It's tough to predict that Pope is going to go down with a high ankle sprain in the game. I mean, this was an unusual game for injuries on both for both teams.
Yeah,
I can't ever recall a game where so many dudes ended up going out. I mean, the Eagles basically lost their entire backfield.
Mm-hmm.
We basically lost half of ours, and then the defensive injuries on top of that. I mean, it was just crazy. That's just an unlikely thing. So I don't know that it's easy to predict. And so the releasing C-Mike, I mean, I can't hardly blame them.
Yeah, a week ago we thought we were stacked, that we had Rawls coming back and Procise looking so
Pope
great, and here's Troy Pope. Hey, Alex Collins can be a healthy scratch, and by the way, we got Will Tukuafu as a fullback now. It feels like a crowded backfield. So why not let C Mike go and try and catch on somewhere else? And yes, now a week later, it might be kind of handy to have him there, but you can't. There's no takebacks in NFL.
No. Hindsight's 20/20 and all that, but they did bring back Zach Brooks to the practice squad here today.
Yeah,
the 7th round choice from this last year, and he did some things in the preseason. He was fine, but knowing that Alex Collins is our primary backup right now, that doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel great.
Well, we did hear Pete Carroll talking about how there have been some changes with Alex Collins, but that's your coach speak. That everything's great. Everything's great.
Yeah, it's kind of like when they asked him how the defensive lineman John Jenkins did, the new guy. He's like, yeah, I did okay. Did okay.
Well, go back to a guy that was released this week, Jamarcus Webb. What did we hear from him from the coaches in the preseason? Right. Well, he's real big. He's a big guy.
Yeah. He's big. Yeah.
And now
he was a big part of the cap expense on the offensive line, and they couldn't have that.
No.
So sayonara.
He was taking up more than 1% of the cap, and now that we've got rid of Jamarcus Webb, all of our linemen are under the 1% line.
That's pretty funny. Now let's talk a little bit about the offensive line performance in this game, because they did go up against a very tough front four with the Philadelphia Eagles, and they held their own, and that's coming off of holding their own against the Patriots and looking decent the week before that. I mean, these guys have really come together. Now, with that said, was it perfect? No. But Britt looked real good. Mm-hmm. Glowinski looked real good.
Glowinski didn't look great on that block PAT to start the game, but
Oh, so you're blaming Glow on that? You're not blaming Freeze?
I think Glow was almost halfway back to the kicker.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a league problem. I don't know. That's tough to pivot it just on him. Everybody's struggling with that these days.
Yeah.
I really felt like the offensive line had a very solid performance and something that they could easily duplicate down in Tampa going into next week. But the one guy that was just tough to watch in this game was Gary Gilliam. And he was just fine in the run blocking, but man, in pass protection, he just does not have the strength. I mean, pushed 4 or 5 yards into the backfield almost instantly on almost every single play. He gave up a ton of pressures. I think the one quote-unquote sack was on him, even though it was like a 2-inch sack. You know,
Right.
like Russell Wilson dang near got it back to the line of scrimmage. But, yeah, I don't think he's a long-term answer at right tackle just because of his pass protection skills. I just don't know that he's able to put the kind of mass on his body to have the strength to be that guy.
So it sounds like you're on the side of Pro Football Focus this week because they listed Gary Gilliam as the worst right tackle in their list of worst performers this past week. And here's what they said. They said, as has been the case often this season, Gary Gilliam struggled when trying to block any pass rusher he faced from the Eagles on Sunday. Gilliam surrendered 1 quarterback hit and 6 hurries. He was also beaten a few other times where Russell Wilson was able to get rid of the ball before pressure developed. But the interesting thing, I looked at Football Outsiders, and here's what they said. The Football Outsiders stars for Week 11 are, and they list Gary Gilliam helped limit NFL's number 2 pass rush by adjusted sack rate to 1 sack for 0 yards. They singled him out of the line.
See, and that goes to show you how difficult it is to evaluate offensive line play.
Right.
And so I guess I'm right down the middle, right? I'm like, yeah, he was good in run blocking, but, you know, pass blocking, a little bit to be desired. That was my take on it after watching the game a second time.
And I think what Football Outsiders is getting at, because they look at the DVOA, you know, it's kind of they consider the opponent when they grade certain individuals. And I think that's the case here. They're saying against a really good Philly defensive front, Gary Gilliam did pretty well.
He did okay.
He did okay.
And that's what I'm saying. That's a ceiling. Once you get in the playoffs and you're going up against other teams with good pass rushers and that sort of thing, he's a guy that's going to be one of your weaker links. It's just kind of the way it is. Fetty had his struggles here and there, but overall looked good again, like a guy who's learning and still getting it going. And Britt had another solid game. And Fant, you know, for the most part, was pretty rock steady. Didn't make any mistakes. Now, the one thing I killed Glowinski on a little bit is some false start stuff and that sort of thing. He had a couple penalties there. There were 2 drives where the offensive line went either false start or hold, and then hold or a false start, you know, in that order. You know, you're looking at 2nd and 20 and that sort of thing. And the offense was able to overcome that. But if we could eliminate some of that, you know, it'd be a perfect game. It wasn't a perfect game for the offensive line, but effective enough.
Well, we saw George Fant get dinged up a little bit. He had to come off the field for about 10 plays, and Coach Carroll said that it was good to see him kind of shake it off and get back in there. But we saw Reese Odiambo come in.
Yes.
And for those 10 plays, he looked fine at that position too. You know, a guy that actually played that position in his life before NFL, and he did all right. And that's a big part of, I think, why they released Jamarcus Webb this week.
Yeah, it makes you wonder a little bit of what he would look like at right tackle.
Yeah,
like what would he look like as a right tackle? Reese looked pretty darn good.
Yeah,
I was impressed. So, but I've always been on, you know, let's get Odiambo in there. I've been on that bandwagon for a while
because he actually has played.
Yeah, because you know, just because he knows offensive line and catfish. You know, I think that was the main marker there. But with all that, let's switch over to the defense, Brandon, because the defense played a whale of a game again. And before we get into all of that, I want to give Carson Wentz a ton of credit. I know a lot of people say that he didn't have the greatest game and all that. He played really well for a rookie in a hard spot against a great defense. Man, I was impressed with Carson Wentz. That kid's a player, and he's going to be a player for years to come. They have their man. Carson Wentz is good.
Yeah, I've been impressed by Carson Wentz going into this game. And
me too.
I think this was his worst game, though. Even when you take some of those things into consideration, his receivers haven't been helping him out. But we've talked about it before, that CenturyLink is a tough place to play. he wasn't necessarily, whereas his receivers weren't helping out. There were other situations where he was missing some of his receivers when he needed to, and he ends up throwing 2 picks.
Yeah, so the one pick was basically a punt.
Right.
I'm not going to kill him on that. The other one, Cam Chancellor came out from stuffing the box and sunk into coverage, and he just didn't see him.
Wentz again out of the shotgun, takes a snap. 4-man rush. Wentz has time, throws. Ball is picked off. Cam Chancellor at the 35. Far side of the field. Falls at the 40. Now it looks like there's some tussling going on.
That happens. I mean, now and then you're going to do that, and especially on the road as a rookie and all that. Now, if you want to take Carson Wentz first half and compare it to Carson Wentz second half, those are two different quarterbacks. Because first half, he was damn good and was tearing us up with the tight ends. I mean, I remember at one point during the first half thinking, man, we might think about covering tight ends again.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought we had this solved. But by the second half, after Chris Richard made some adjustments and the defense adjusted a little bit, it turned into a very long day. And they could have scored more too because his receivers did not do him any favors, like you were saying. I mean, there's some big drops in there.
There were some big drops, and then there were some penalties that hurt him too. You're talking about wanting to cover tight ends. It was a play where Nelson Aguilar was barely like a half a yard off of lining up incorrectly. And that was the play where they had the big touchdown pass to the tight end. And yeah, people might complain about, that's barely illegal formation. But the problem was his coach was jumping up and down over on the sideline, yelling at him to move up a half a step right next to the line judge that's standing right there. If you're going that nuts trying to get your receiver's attention to line up properly right next to the official can't not throw the flag.
Well, he was going to throw it either way.
Well,
I mean,
right.
I don't blame Doug Pederson there at all.
Yeah.
What was hilarious is the ball snapped, and he just turns and walks the other direction. It's like, no.
I'm not even going to watch.
I don't even care what happens because it don't make no never mind. Like, it was great, man. I thought that was funny. But pass rush looked good. I mean, Cliff Averill gets another sack and on the stunt there, and a strip sack. That was pretty cool. Frank Clark had a nice game, getting penetration. And boy, how good did Bobby Wagner look?
Oh, my goodness. If that guy isn't just first team All-Pro at the end of this year, I mean, he's
the
wrecking
best
the
middle
league.
linebacker in the league.
Yeah. Got a sack on Carson Wentz this game. You mentioned Cliff Averill, 25. Brady Henderson of 710 ESPN says Averill has 25 strip sacks since 2008. That's incredible.
That is incredible. And, he did it again in this game. Going back to Wagner, had a couple big stops in the backfield too. Coming off the blitz and that sort of thing. He's taking his game to another level, and I think it's on the mental side of things. I really do. I think he's recognizing formations better and tendencies and getting the defense set up the way it ought to. It's impressive.
Well, while we're talking defense, man, the defense back into the lead, Adam, in terms of points allowed per game in their rightful number one spot ahead of the Minnesota Vikings. They're now at 17.3, the Vikings at 17.6. So if you're complaining at all about the defense, haven't given up a late touchdown to the Eagles, hey, they're in number one right now. We can't complain about the defense.
Well, I was bummed they gave up the late touchdown just because I was very concerned about them becoming that number one team in scoring defense yet again. But I mean, they still managed to.
Well, and you have to remember at that point, too, they're down Earl Thomas, right, who went out with the hamstring injury. Deshaun Shedd didn't play. He had a hamstring injury, so Nico Thorpe filling in for him. And still no Mike Bennett. And hopefully we'll be able to get him back in the mix here soon. But for them still to limit the Eagles to 15 points, that's a heck of a game by the defense.
Yeah, on the last touchdown, basically, guys you saw in the defensive backfield, you saw Stephen Terrell, Elliott, Nico Thorpe. I mean,
congratulations. You know Nico Thorpe's name now.
I decided to learn it. He's been on the team for a while, it turns out.
Yeah.
So I figured out how to pay attention, and he actually played fairly well. Give Nico Thorpe some credit. Give Stephen Terrell some credit. I thought he filled in fairly admirably, considering. I mean, who's going to be Earl Thomas? Nobody.
And a guy who needs to be recognized for filling in well, DeMontre Moore filling in since Mike Bennett's been out.
Dude, Moore can play.
I know. How did this guy get cut?
I don't know, but for as much as we malign John Schneider for not being able to judge offensive line talent,
yeah,
boy, he's a hell of an evaluator when it comes to defensive linemen. Think of all the dudes we've pulled off the scrap heap, and I mean, including Michael Bennett.
Right.
That he's hit home runs, and this could be another one of those dudes.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not even counting the Clinton McDonald's and the Tony McDaniels and anybody else with a Mick last name that they found that have been really good players for us for a couple years. And then they go other places and they're not quite as dominant. I mean, it is pretty impressive. You really do have to tip your hat to them. And then also tip your hat to Moore. He's playing like he wants to be in Seattle. There's no doubt about that. You know, it was funny, Brandon. I heard a little ditty from the Dave Damashek podcast today, and it was Damashek and Ike Taylor, and I believe it's their producer. I can never remember her name. She has a lot of good points, though. But anyways, it's Damashek and Ike Taylor talking about the Seahawks defense, and they brought up the fact that they are now number 1 in the league in defensive scoring again. And basically, both of them agreed that it's not just about the Seahawks being a great defense like in 1 year, like if you want to bring up, you know, the 2013 team, that sort of thing,
mm-hmm.
that they're going to be discussed 20, 30 years from now as being one of the great defenses of all time. We talking like Steel Curtain.
Right.
And things of that nature. And they both agreed. And this is Ike Taylor, who is a Steelers homer through and through, as well as Damashek for that matter.
Right.
Putting this Seahawks defense in that discussion.
Well, when you do it over 5 years, not just 1 or 2 years, you know, the Bears, you know, obviously in 1985, you know, wrecked the league, and they had a good defense in 86. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but they didn't do it over a 5-year period. There was the Tampa defense that won a Super Bowl, and they had good years on either side of those Super Bowl seasons. But
the Ravens,
the Ravens too. But none of those teams have done it as consistent for as long of a period as the Seahawks have done now. In a time of the NFL where a lot of the rules are favoring the offense.
That's what makes it all the more impressive, because there's other great historical defenses that did it over a stretch. I mean, whether you're talking like the Doomsday defense for the Cowboys and things like that, but to do it in this day and age, it's a little unheard of. Now, you may argue that the Ravens defense was that kind of defense, because they did stretch out a pretty darn good defense for a number of years, and that was kind of their identity as a football team, no doubt. But even then, back in early 2000s, the rules are very different than they are now. I mean, it's even more pass happy. It's even more offensive friendly. So for the Seahawks to still be able to dominate on that side of the ball and play physically too, that it's unbelievably impressive. And take your hats off to this defense, man, in some of the greatness that you see on there. I mean, Sherman with his 30th pick in his career. Nobody's had more since, what was it, 2012?
2012, that's right.
Yeah. Stuff like that is amazing, you know, and I think you run out of superlatives. You really do.
Well, while we're throwing credit around, Pete Carroll gets his 100th regular season win in this game, too. He did hit 100 wins last year at some point, counting the playoff wins. But yeah, 100 regular season wins for.
Yeah. Well, I'll have the same amount of excitement about that as Pete did. Oh, that's interesting.
Sounds about right.
But I mean, as we sat and talked about him last week, and Chris Sims bringing it up, he does need to be discussed as one of the great coaches in this league. And I mean, that's as much as Pete wanted to poo-poo it, it's a big milestone. So congratulations to Pete Carroll, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we talked about under bonus show last week, right? Was Chris Sims' thoughts on Pete Carroll. So yeah, if you're in the flock and you missed that, go back and have a listen.
Yes. So, and one of the other things too, compare that to say Jeff Fisher, who's closing in on the all-time losing his coach in NFL history.
Oh, you're spinning this the wrong way, Adam. He tied a record from legendary head coach Tom Landry.
For losses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now his name's right there on the record books.
How many wins did Tom Landry have? How many wins did Tom Landry have?
A lot more than Jeff Fisher.
About 100 more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's minor detail.
I'm just saying.
How many rings?
Yeah, 0. Although did he have one as an assistant coach probably somewhere? Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, hard telling not knowing, but as a head coach.
Yeah, definitely not as a head coach. He was so close though.
Hey, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, man.
No, I was hoping you were going to say something more interesting than the old cliche.
Oh, what did you wanted me to come up with something wholly new there?
Maybe. I thought one of your things would be you'd have it kind of tucked away from because you have your things.
I have my things. Yeah. No, I hadn't thought about that one. Usually I'm more clever. All right, I'll do better.
Do better. Well, speaking of people who need to do better, Adam, what do you say it's time to take a trip to Prisco's world?
Oh, fire it up.
La 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 la, la 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 la, Prisco's world. La 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 la, la 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 la, Prisco's world. Prisco has his hot tastes and nothing more. That's Prisco's world.
So I don't know why, but every time I hear the song, I picture Pete Prisco riding a merry-go-round, like eating some cotton candy. That's what, I don't know why.
But the reason why we're going to Prisco's world this week, Adam, it's kind of an unfortunate reason. And I have some unfortunate news.
Oh, no.
And apparently the population of Prisco's world has doubled because...
What? No, he can't procreate. I thought he was an asexual creature.
I don't know, but somehow Kurt Warner is taking up residence in Prisco's world.
What? What happened? Did he hit his head? Something's so wrong.
He's drinking the Prisco Kool-Aid. He's locked in Prisco's basement. I don't know what it is, but let's go back a couple of weeks because last time we talked Prisco's world, it was when Pete Prisco was on the Jim Rome show, and he said this about our quarterback.
Like I tell all the Seattle fans out there that come at me on a regular basis, good, not great.
Good, not great. That was the quote from Prisco at the time. And the thing that worries me is I'm hearing a little Prisco in Kurt Warner's voice when he's on the exact same show, the Jim Rome show. Here's Kurt Warner.
Kurt, do you think right now as we speak, he's still not a great all-around quarterback?
I do. I still think he's got work to do inside the pocket. Their scheme is very simple. Now, he does some great things inside the pocket. Don't get me wrong. He's growing up, and he's better than a lot of mobile quarterbacks inside the pocket. But I think there's more that he can do inside the pocket with his skill set, and he's just got to grow into being able to see that and trust that. So, again, a good all-around quarterback, not great yet because I think he has room to grow inside the pocket.
Kurt Warner joining us.
Kurt Warner must have, when he was stocking groceries back in the day, must have had like a giant can of tomatoes fall on his head or something. That is insane. What is he talking about? Is he just jealous that he couldn't run? Is he jealous that he had to play in the Arena League and Russ didn't? I don't know what it is. Because let me just fill Kurt in on a little fact, because we like those facts, logic, and reason on this show. Things that make sense and actually back up your argument. He's got a little work to do inside the pocket. No, he doesn't have any work to do. He's been doing work inside of the pocket. So in 2015, last year, his rating inside the pocket, Brandan, 118.6. No QB 3 seasons before that had topped that. Not only was it the best that year, it was the best for the previous 3 years. Not Tom Brady, not Aaron Rodgers. I have to say this over and over again. It was Russell Carrington Wilson from inside the pocket. He doesn't have work to do. He's been doing work. Maybe they took that when he had his flat top, cut up this last time. They got a little too close to his brain. I don't know.
Well, I think there must be some animosity with Kurt Warner, because the quarterback, because with Seattle, I mean, the real Kurt Warner is a running back for the Seahawks. And I don't know if we need to differentiate now between real Kurt Warner and fake Kurt Warner. But clearly, the running back goes in as the real Kurt Warner in many eyes of Seahawks fans. And maybe that's part of the problem with the fake Kurt.
Well, yeah, if he thinks he's first, well, he's goofing up, because Kurt with a C comes before Kurt with a K.
Right.
Just alphabetically speaking. Like that's it right there. I don't know, man. I don't know how somebody who's smart and played the position and all that, and not only that, was an underdog himself.
Right.
Somehow looks at Russell Wilson and says he's not a great quarterback. I mean, I just pulled one stat, okay? how many do we have to bring up? How many records does he have to break? I don't get it. Like, because before it was he plays with a great running game and he has a great defense. You know, and even back then, like the offensive line was so-so, right?
Yeah.
It was actually decent. Now he plays with the worst offensive line in the league. If you ask anybody, every single analyst will tell you that exact same thing.
Uh-huh.
And we've seen Tom Brady, you get an ounce of pressure on him, he starts chucking picks. Like, Russell plays with that kind of pressure down in and down out without the big-time running game anymore. Just look at the stats. They haven't run for catfish this year. Russell hasn't run for catfish this year. This is the thing. Now he's doing it completely on his own, running his side of the ball, and now it's all because he plays with a great defense. I'm just sick of it, man. I just don't understand. The only thing I can think of is him saying good, not great, is there's one common denominator here, Brandon, between Prisco and Kurt Warner. They both said it on Jim Rome's show. Jim Rome must be feeding them this line. This is a Jim Rome problem.
No, this is not a Jim Rome problem because Jim Rome is on the side of Russell Wilson. Jim Rome is on our side on this, Adam. And and that's why he brings it up with these guys who haven't seemed to quite come on board yet. A good follow-up question to when they say Russell Wilson is good and not great. Mm-hmm. What do you need to see to change that thought in your mind? And I'm willing to accept from Kurt Warner that, yes, maybe Russell Wilson does have a few things that he needs to work on when it comes to his work inside the pocket. Sure. Everybody can improve. I understand that there's still room for Russell Wilson to grow, still room for Russell Wilson to improve. But for you to not say that you're not convinced that he's a great quarterback yet, you're not watching enough of the Seahawks.
Joe Montana, after he won his second ring, didn't stop trying to get better, even though he was a great quarterback. Like, even when you're a great quarterback, there are definitely things you can work on. I mean, it's a very complicated position. It might be the most complicated position in all of sports. There will always be something to work on, but you can be great. Like Aaron Rodgers, is he still great? Is he still great? And I bet you if you ask Kurt Warner, he'd say yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure
he's got some things to work on right now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the one thing that I would say about Russell Wilson, maybe we're not giving him enough credit by saying he's great. Brett McLean commented in gettingtheflock.com, says Russell Wilson is not a great quarterback. He's a bona fide legend who has achieved more than Russell Carrington Wilson in their first 5 years at quarterback. Given that almost half of the time he has been playing behind a below average offensive line, at this point, the lowest paid line in the NFL, imagine what he would have accomplished if he played for Dallas. Dread the thought, but purely hypothetical here.
Yeah, I mean, he would definitely be better. There's no doubt about that. Look, I mean, you give him just an ounce of time, and this offense is a top-tier offense in the league. Whether it's statistics, eyeball test, and then the sheer magic of some of his plays, is resourcefulness. I can't understand it for the life of me. The people that think that Russell Wilson is just good and not great probably were the same type of people that chose to bench Doug Flutie way back in the day in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Like, just cannot grasp greatness if it's underneath 6 feet tall.
Well, we can't let Pete Prisco off of the leash here with just talking Kurt Warner in this segment.
Right.
Pete Prisco, looking at his power rankings for the NFL teams right now, he's got the Seahawks at number 5.
5?
5. Think of 4.
You want to put them 3, like as low as 3? Okay. I think there's 3 teams that you could have a legitimate conversation about.
I think.
But 5?
Yeah. Well, there's 4 teams ahead of them right now.
Yeah.
The Cowboys at number 1. The Patriots, who the Seahawks beat just 2 weeks ago, at number 2.
Okay.
The Raiders at number 3.
Easy now.
And the Broncos at number 4.
Oh, Lordy.
He only has 2 other 7-win teams ranked behind the Seahawks with the Giants and the Chiefs.
Well, at least he got that right.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, there are often times I wonder if I watch the same game as other people, because just ask yourself, these are just simple questions. Would you take the Seahawks offense or the Raiders offense?
Maybe the Raiders.
Maybe the Raiders, right? But it's close, right?
It's close.
Would you take the Raiders defense or the Seahawks defense?
God, no.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's not even close.
Not even close.
It's not even close. So that's just easy right there. Boom, boom. Raiders out.
Raiders are out.
Now, would you take the Broncos defense or the Seahawks defense?
Yeah, I'd take the Seahawks defense.
Right. But it's close.
I have to think about it.
Yeah. You know, I could say, you could give me an argument for the Broncos defense, and I'd be like, okay, I feel you. But the Seahawks offense or the Broncos offense? Do you want the Seaman or Russell Carrington Wilson as your quarterback? Seaman or Wilson? That's your choice.
It's not even close. I think you're pronouncing his name wrong, but I'll let you slide on this.
That is his name. It's on his jersey. Seaman.
I think there's an I in there somewhere that throws off your pronunciation.
Oh, I don't know.
Think maybe it's a silent I.
Maybe it's my Rocky Mountain West dialect that gets it wrong. I don't know.
It could be. But then you look at the Patriots and the Seahawks. They beat the Patriots on New England's home field just 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
If you want to put the Raiders up above them because they have, they're 8-2, and you look at the schedule and say, well, the Seahawks don't have 8 wins, then maybe Seattle's number 3. But they have them all the way down at number 5, just barely ahead of the Giants. Come on now.
Yeah, and the Giants stink. They're a paper tiger. There's no doubt about that. Then look, and as far as the Patriots,
let's not just gloss over this fact that the Giants stink, because to be fair, after about these top 5 teams, there really isn't a whole lot of teams where you'd consider them competitive, because you're talking about the Giants, the Falcons, the Chiefs, the Lions, and the Skins.
Right.
Yeah, those are teams that I don't see winning in the playoffs. I don't see any of those teams winning games in the playoffs. Maybe one.
I think the Redskins might be able to.
Maybe. Yeah.
They're a fairly balanced team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And plus, when you got a dude named Fat Rob on your team, that's kind of fun. I enjoy that.
Fat Rob?
Fat Rob, their running back. That's what they call him. They call him Fat Rob.
I thought we called him R. Kelly.
Well, that's what I call him, but apparently that's not his nickname. His nickname by his team is Fat Rob.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, so Prisco again, I don't know. Maybe when he's on that merry-go-round, he's not eating cotton candy. He's shooting up heroin because he must be high when he comes up with this stuff.
It's one good way to imagine yourself in the world of Elmo.
It has to be, dude. I can think of no other way. But you kind of let Pete know on this, right? That this virus that he has hatched is now spreading.
That's true. I did. I made sure to mention him on Twitter that I heard Kurt Warner speaking of this nonsense on Jim Rome, and apparently he was welcoming of Kurt Warner into his own world.
All I know is that we are now on Pete Prisco's radar.
Right.
And I like this. So there needs to be a concerted Twitter effort to let Pete Prisco know that he's got his own theme music, that he needs to tune in. Like, let Pete know. Let Pete know. Well,
let Pete know, but do it in a way that's welcoming of him to come onto the show, and to when he's ready, I want to hear from Pete Prisco what his criteria are. What do we need to look for so we can help Pete know once Wilson has crossed that threshold that would make Prisco consider him to be a great quarterback? Does Wilson have to grow 4 inches? Maybe that's the criteria. Maybe he has to throw for 40 touchdowns in a year. Maybe that's what Prisco considers the threshold.
Maybe he has to change from a right-handed quarterback to a left-handed quarterback and still put up big stats.
Right. Just so we know as Seahawks fans what to look for, so we can go, okay, Pete, Russell has finally turned into a solid left-handed quarterback. Is he great now?
Yeah. So no, don't cuss him out on Twitter. Invite him on our behalf. We need all of you to do that. Like, because if enough of you do it, I promise you will get his attention. Brandan with one tweet got his attention. Okay. So make sure to put in there at Seahawkers Pod, and let him know that much like Frazier, we're listening. We're ready.
We're listening, and we're welcoming him. We don't want to turn him away. We want him to become one of us.
Yeah. Have him come on and explain this.
Well, let's get into our preview of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Interestingly, a few weeks back, this kind of looked like a pretty easy game, but now the Bucs come in. They're 5-5. They're on a 2-game roll. They beat the Bears, and then they take down Kansas City in Arrowhead Stadium, and now the Seahawks are going into their home stadium. The interesting thing is this is a 4 p.m. start time on the East Coast, which is a 1 p.m. start time Pacific, not the 10 a.m. start that you normally see when the Seahawks go to the East Coast.
I feel like you've said that a few times this year now.
It's interesting to me that now the NFL's finally willing to switch after we've kind of, you've stopped caring, and now they're starting to listen.
Fine. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But what does matter is that I don't know if Earl Thomas is going to play. I don't know if Deshaun Shedd is going to play. I know that
I don't think Michael Bennett's going to play.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I don't know how Jameis is going to look because he played pretty well the last 2 weeks. And let's not lie, the Kansas City defense isn't exactly a terrible defense. Now, their number one corner has a bum hip, and I think that plays a little bit into it. But Jameis has been playing well. Mike Evans has been playing really well. Mike Evans is a beast now. I mean, he's a heck of a receiver.
Yeah, he is.
He's a heck of a receiver. But fortunately, we have a Richard Sherman to put on him.
It's true.
Not just Richard Sherman, a Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman, in fact.
Yeah, exactly.
And it might be the type,
guys like that down.
Yeah, he does. But he also, there's guys that can get theirs against him too. Go back to Brandon Marshall against the Jets, and they didn't have great wide receivers in there at that particular time. It was Brandon Marshall who really was the only Jets wide receiver that was healthy in that game, and we did see Sherman on Marshall, and Marshall caught a touchdown pass on him. So we could see something similar here.
Sure. I think the other thing that's a little disconcerting in the matchup is Doug Martin's back, and he's healthy, and he's looking like Doug Martin, and he's a heck of a running back. So the defense is going to have their hands full a little bit more than they did with the Eagles this past week, and plus you're on the road. So those are all things to take into consideration. Now, with that said, that Tampa secondary is capital P, capital U, capital Trid. It's putrid. It's pretty bad. And their defensive front, they've got Gerald McCoy, and don't get me wrong, he's one of the top 4 dudes that are at defensive tackle, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing else.
Yeah.
So if the offensive line can just keep that one dude in check and Russell Wilson has his time, man, you could be looking at a performance from Russell Wilson that might just take somebody like Pete Prisco and make him think that he's no longer just good, but great.
Well, one thing we do have to realize when we look at any of the Tampa stats going into this game is they do play in the defense optional NFC South.
That's true. And so their offense obviously looks a little bit better. And maybe their defense doesn't look quite as good as it actually is. But one thing that is alarming for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is they are one of the teams that struggles with giving up big plays in the passing game. Basically, they're 17th in the league at giving up, chunk plays, those gap plays that Russell Wilson talks about. And in the last 2 to 3 games, we've seen those come by the bunches for the Seahawks. And if they're getting those explosive plays and you couple that with some good defense, it's lights out. It's lights out for the opponent. So I don't know. Those are some of the biggest things that popped up to me when I looked at this matchup. I don't know if there was other things that kind of piqued your interest, Brandon.
There were a few, but let's get into them with Anthony of Knock On Sports, a big Bucs fan. Let's hear what he has to say about his own team.
Yeah, let's get into it with Anthony. He is a diehard Bucs fan, and he's got a lot of great insight for you.
This week, to break down our matchup with the Bucs, we have a legitimate Tampa Bay Bucs fan living all the way up here in Kalispell, Montana. He invites us on his show each week, the Knock On Sports, on 600 AM KGEZ. Anthony, how you doing?
Guys, thank you for having me on your podcast. I love listening to what you guys bring to the table and always enjoy getting you guys on my show. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. We appreciate you coming on this week. It's nice to have you on our turf for a change. But first, what I want to know, Anthony, is being a Bucs fan in Montana, do you kind of feel like a unicorn? Like, I mean, because there's none of you around. I mean, is there a support group? Are there people you can phone home to? Like, how do you manage this fandom all the way in Montana?
I will tell you something right now. I have met 2 other Bucs fans here in Kalispell. There was one at the golf course, and then there was one the same weekend I went to with Brandon Schultz over to Fat Boys, and we went to go see the Seahawks and Saints game. So I have seen at least 2 Bucs fans. I don't know them personally, but I know at least I'm not alone in this town.
It's like one of those things, though, when you see them, like you give each other like a little nod or a fist bump, like just to recognize. No,
that's not that subtle, dude. You guys give him a full-on hug. Be like, oh, thank God. I've been missing you. It's good to see you.
Well, considering how our season's gone, we're kind of just like, hey, how's it going? Hopefully we win today, right?
But considering how your season is going, now, Anthony, the Bucs, they're 5-5. They're at 500. This is the one team left on the schedule where the Seahawks, where it's not a losing record, a team with a losing record for the Seahawks. And so the Bucs now are 5-5. You're coming up 5-5. You're coming off a win against the Bears a couple weeks ago. And then the Bucs go on the road into Kansas City at Arrowhead, hostile environment, and they come away with the win. As a Bucs fan, you got to be riding high after this last weekend.
I'll tell you how high I'm riding right now. I texted my Green Bay Packer buddies after that Washington game, and I just ripped into them because I finally get to say that Tampa Bay is the better Bay. And right now, you're right. We're doing well. And I'll be honest with you. If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago going into the Chicago Bears game, were we going to be at this point? I would have told you no because of the way we've been playing. Right now, all I can say is that famous Jameis is doing exactly what he was brought in to do. The offense is looking a lot better, which is weird considering the fact that our wide receivers have been down. We don't have Vincent Jackson, but it's funny at the same time because we get Doug Martin back 2 weeks ago, and he just brings, even though he hasn't had a 100-yard game, he brings instant change to this offense.
Well, he brings instant change and also the best nickname in the league, the muscle hamster.
He doesn't like that. I like to call him the Duggernaut.
The Duggernaut. That's solid. I like that. Let's talk a little bit, Anthony, about your guys' passing offense and some of the weapons that you guys have. Now, with Earl Thomas and Deshaun Shedd both being injured for this game with hamstring injuries, it looks like the Seahawks' biggest vulnerability is going to be through the air. Now, we all know about Mike Evans. That dude's a straight beast. What else do the Seahawks need to worry about? I mean, tell me you don't have a serviceable tight end. Just please tell me there's not one good tight end. That's all I need to know.
Well, I wish I could tell you that, but he's not a flashy tight end. He's kind of that old school, like 80s, early 90s tight end. And Cameron Brate, and he's from an Ivy League school. The dude finds a way to get touchdown catches and finds a way to get open. And the best way I can say is he's really kind of the Nick O'Leary comparison in the pros for Jameis. Because Jameis loved his tight ends in college. He has found his man in Cameron Brate. And Brate won't beat you down the field, but what he will do is he will beat you finding a hole where your linebacker and your safety aren't sitting.
Well, great. That's the guy we're going to have to worry about. He's probably going to have the biggest game of his career this week.
Well, I don't know, because the other guys that I think, and this is someone you really need to keep an eye on, is Russell Shepard. All right, Russell Shepard, he hasn't electrified any stats, but Russell Shepard is a guy that Jameis seems to find on third down, whether it's a crossing route, whether it's a post route down the middle of the field. Russell Shepard is a guy that I think is going to be an X factor for us in the passing game. If we can get Russell Shepard going along with Mike Evans, or Russell Shepard just has a better day, then I think that's a key and a win for the Bucs offense because he is huge. I know Cecil Shorts had the better game last week, but Russell Shepard to me is a real X factor for this passing offense for the Bucs.
Where do the Bucs try to exploit that mismatch with Shepard? Do they take him outside more often, or is he more of a slot guy?
It's going to be a slot guy. He's going to be somebody that lines up in the slot. He's not going to line up on the outside and beat you. He's going to be somebody that, like an Adam Humphries. Those two guys, they'll line up in the slot and they'll try to beat you in the middle of the field.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how exactly they attack the Seahawks, because I have no doubt that Mike Evans is going to be covered up by Richard Sherman all day.
No, I agree with you. Mike Evans is, I think, you got to take, I'm going to go ahead and take him out of the equation here because Richard Sherman just does that to the best wide receiver. So that's why it's interesting for me. If Mike Evans can be a factor, that's really a huge win for us because I just don't know. With Richard Sherman, every quarterback's tried and very few have really succeeded against Richard Sherman. I mean, even the great Tom Brady said that I don't really want to try Richard Sherman anymore because no matter what I do, he finds a way to be in position to bat the ball away or just make a play on the ball.
So let's flip sides of the ball here, Anthony, and let's talk a little bit about the Seahawks offense taking on the Tampa defense. And I think you and I both know Seattle hasn't really run the ball a lot this season, although having their best performance last week and having Thomas Rawls back to full strength again coming into this week. But really where I feel like this is going to come down to for the Seahawks is Russell Wilson's arm. And that's not an earth-shattering revelation, but one of the things that the Seahawks really do well is they take their shots down the field. They really get a lot of those chunk plays, the 20-plus yard chunk plays in the passing game. And the Bucs are 31st or 30th in the league when it comes to limiting those big plays. Is that a concern of yours going into this? And how does that secondary look overall for Tampa?
It's a big concern. It's a huge concern every week. Every Bucs fan is just wondering, okay, how many yards are we going to give up? Because it's usually the quarterback that nobody ever heard of or the quarterback that's just been completely bad the entire season, like Case Keenum, and he throws for 300 yards on this secondary. So when we see a guy like a Russell Wilson that we have to play, Bucs fans are even more concerned because, okay, fine, Brent Grimes, he went out with an injury, so his status is questionable. Aside from that, I thought our best corner was Jonathan Banks, but we released him, and he had a great year. I thought he had a great career in Tampa Bay, but unfortunately, Lovie Smith didn't like him, and apparently Mike Smith didn't like him, so we got rid of another good cornerback. Alteron Werner, he's a liability. He has never shown that Pro Bowl performance that we saw in Tennessee. So Werner, for me, he can make plays, but it's more or less he gets burned by the deep play. So this secondary, you can get to him. The question for me is can they stick with these guys long enough? Because Doug Baldwin, it doesn't matter who's guarding him. He seems to find a way at some point in the game to get and blow the top off a defense. And Tampa Bay's top gets blown off quite a bit here during the season. So it is a huge concern, this secondary. I don't know if Grimes will play this week. I know he went out with an injury early in that Kansas City game, so he's questionable. Werner is a liability. And don't even ask me to pronounce our nickel cornerback because it's a long last name. I don't even know how to say it, but he's been burned on so many occasions that I've gone on Twitter rampages about why this guy is still on our roster, yet we cut a perfectly good corner in Jonathan Banks.
Well, let's talk about one guy's name that you can pronounce. And if Seahawks fans have been watching the highlight reels for the past two weeks for Tampa Bay, they probably look at this guy, Chris Conte, and go, wow, He's made some plays these past couple weeks. Tell us about Chris Conte and how you feel about him as part of the Bucs secondary.
Well, up until the past 2 weeks, Chris Conte was kind of on my crap list, if you will, because Chris Conte has been in several instances been burned as well. No safety, whether it's Conte, McDougal, have really been effective. Conte's good in the run game. Conte, I will say, he steps up and he plays well in the run game. But if your safety's making all the tackles, that's not exactly a good thing either. But for me, Chris Conte, he got an interception at a key moment, but that was really the only play for me that Chris Conte stood out. He got an interception, return at 55 yards. We finally got a stop. Chris Conte got an interception return, which was in a gift basket from Jay Cutler. So once again, what does that say? Because Jay Cutler gift wraps everything to defensive players for touchdowns. So for me, Chris Conte, he plays well in the run game, but he gets taken advantage of so easily in the passing game for me. So once again, I'm happy Conte had two great back-to-back games in terms of getting turnovers, but I'll be honest with you. If he does it for a third straight week, I'll be honest. I'll go ahead and campaign for the guy to be Defensive Player of the Year or something. I'll campaign for everybody wants to do because I just don't see it.
How does the Bucs defense do against tight ends? I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but we got a guy named Jimmy Graham on our roster. He's pretty good. He has surpassed all other Seahawks tight ends as the leading receiver for one season and already this year. So how do the Bucs do against tight ends?
Okay. First of all, I want to say, Brandon, Adam, thank you for asking me this question because I want to take this moment and opportunity to say thank you for taking him away from the New Orleans Saints because when he was with the Saints, he completely killed us. And again, this week, it's possible because I haven't seen, Mike Smith might be able to considering he knows Jimmy Graham from his days as a head coach in Atlanta. So Mike Smith might have a game plan for Jimmy Graham, but Jimmy Graham has killed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers every time he's faced us when he was with the New Orleans Saints. And for us, again, you kind of go back to, okay, who are you going to match up with him? Well, Levante David, I think you can't put him one-on-one. Chris Conte and Bradley McDougal, maybe McDougal, because he's so tall and long, he might be able to stay with him. But for me, Jimmy Graham, I think he's going to have a day against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense because he's had days many, many times. I don't care. I know it was with the Saints, But with the Seahawks and Russell Wilson, I'm not really seeing much of a difference here considering how well you guys are using him throughout this season.
Well, I think you're right a little bit about Mike Smith having a background with Jimmy Graham. So one last ridiculous question for you here, Anthony. Mike Smith, mob boss or no? Because I'm pretty sure he's a mob boss. He's always looked like one to me. And so I'm just hoping he doesn't put out a hit on Jimmy Graham.
Well, if he is a mob boss, I'd love to see him put a hit on something that can stop an offense because he hasn't done that at all this season. I have been impressed with the Kansas City game because we were able to take away their running game and we were able to limit the speedster and Tyreek Hill. And he did say in the beginning of the season, you're not going to see improvement from this defense until halfway through. So maybe this Kansas City game is where we start to see all those improvements of this Mike Smith defense finally start to pay off. So for me, Mike Smith is a bit of a mixed bag right now. I know he had a lot of expectation coming in because of what he's done before, but right now, unless he puts it in a couple of games back to back, I got a lot of questions for him, so I really don't think he's the mob boss.
I thought for sure he hit a Tommy gun in the locker room or said things like, get off the quarterback, things like that. I've always imagined that's how he worked because he does with the hair and everything. He looks like a mob boss.
Oh, he does. You're absolutely right. And if going back to mob bosses, if there is something that I can ask from you guys, can you please take your J.R. Sweezy back? He's defective. Okay. I don't know what you guys did to him before he came to Tampa. I don't know how you broke him, but he's not working right now. Can you take him back for us, please? We'll even chip in half the cap.
No, you can't. There's no returns. That's how it is. All sales are final. And you wondered what we did to him before we brought him over to you guys. We took him off the defensive line and made him play offensive line. That's what we did. That's how we broke him. We changed him on sides of the ball.
Yeah, and on you guys for not doing the research and learning that he actually played defensive line before offensive line. That's not on us.
Yeah, it's very simple. Anytime Tom Cable says that, this guy could be really good, run away as fast as possible.
Well, I'll make sure to make that a part of my memo to Jason Light next time because Jason Light, he seems to hit on the draft picks, but when it comes to the free agents, that guy can't hit them because I don't understand J.R. Sweezy. Look at some past guys, Michael Johnson from the Bengals. I mean, Josh McCown, good Lord. I still can't believe we signed him for 2 years and $14 million. But no, you're right. Like I said, I don't know why Tampa Bay thought J.R. Sweezy was going to be somebody. I don't know. I mean, at first, I thought it was a good idea to upgrade the offensive line, but that's actually a question for you guys. Because for me, how are you guys going to get to Jameis? Because I thought Tampa Bay's offensive line did a pretty good job against Kansas City's defensive line, who is pretty good. I mean, they've got some pass rushers over there. There's no slouches over in Kansas City.
Well, I've got 2 words for you, Anthony, and it's the housing commissioner, Cliff Averill, man. Because nobody has been able to stop him this season between him and Frank Clark, but Averill's been an absolute beast. It doesn't matter who he's gone up against, whether it's been all pros or scrubs. He has gotten to the quarterback one way or the other. And man, he basically his whole goal in life is to end homelessness in Haiti. And he's going to try to do it in one season. And I think he's going to build 3 more houses this week.
Yeah, one strip sack at a time is how he's doing it. And the other guy that could be coming back this week potentially is Mike Bennett. And man, if we have Mike Bennett back with Frank Clark, with the housing commissioner Cliff Averill, it could be a tough week for Jameis. But again, Seahawks fans, we did get a little frustrated watching the Bills game and watch Tyrod Taylor run around too. Jameis Winston, definitely a more mobile quarterback than some of the guys that the Seahawks have seen this year.
Not more mobile than Wentz. I'd say those 2 guys are similar athletically that way. So I think it's not like chasing Tyrod Taylor around where you're like Rocky chasing a chicken, you know?
I suppose.
No, you're right. And Jameis, but the thing is, the dangerous thing about Jameis is he's got enough athletic ability to run around in the pocket and then find somebody deep to make some magic happen. So I think for me, that's where I've got to see it. Because Jameis, even though he can get a first down with his legs, it's kind of slow. It's not real speed, if you will. He's more dangerous when he's running around in the pocket and looking downfield.
Yeah, that definitely is kind of his game. I guess as a Seahawks fan, what I'm banking on is the Jameis Winston that throws 2 very questionable decisions a game. And hopefully that those are decisions that Richard Sherman capitalizes on and, ups his pick total from the 30 that he came to this last week in his career and ups it to maybe at least 32. That's what I'm banking on.
I like it.
Well, we'll see. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. And I'll be honest with you, 2 weeks ago, I would have chalked this up very easily. Even as a Bucs fan, I would have said, all right, Seattle's going to come to town. They're going to get a win. But as Bucs fans, I think we're all we're cautiously optimistic here, because for Tampa Bay right now, you guys look like you're going to seal the playoffs. But every Bucs fan right now, I think we're the second team out of the wild card picture right now. But if we can pick up wins, whether it's against you guys, because if you look at the schedule for us from here on out, Seattle, Dallas, San Diego, Carolina, and 2 games against the Saints, Bucs fans are kind of cautiously optimistic. And if we can pick up, or at least play really well against the Seahawks, maybe even pick up a win, maybe in Tampa, I think Bucs fans, you're going to start to see them come back in full roar, because then we're going to start thinking, hey, maybe we can actually make the playoffs here. So for Bucs and for the Bucs fans, a huge game this week against you guys and the Seahawks.
Well, it's going to be a huge game, and unfortunately, you guys were selling your tickets to Seahawks fans so early in the season that I'm kind of wondering how many Bucs fans are actually going to be able to get into this game.
Well, I will say this to you right now. As a Bucs fan, I've been to Bucs games in years past, and aside from when either the Dallas Cowboys or the Green Bay Packers come to town, or maybe even the New England Patriots, ticket prices just soar at Raymond James. But aside from that, tickets are pretty good. I mean, I got third row right at the 25-yard line for like $90. So you're absolutely right. It could be where the Seahawks, and I'll be honest with you, until the Bucs can show consistently that they can win at home, we're going to see a lot of opposing team fans in the stands. You saw it in Chicago, even though there's a lot of transplants down in Florida. You see a lot of fans in the stands at Raymond James, and you're absolutely right, because a lot of fans right now, when for whatever reason, they can play great on the road, but they just don't play well at home, and Tampa Bay fans don't understand that. And Tampa Bay fans have been through so much. We're not talking about the casual bandwagon Bucs fan from the late 90s, early 2000s, but so many Bucs fans from the history on, they just want to see a winner. They want to go to Raymond James, and they want to see the Bucs play well at home. And it hurts even more when we can't do that, because our home record, I think we've won 3 home games the last 4 years combined. That's terrible. I don't understand how you're an NFL team when you do that.
Want to thank you for coming on for sure, man. How do people find your show if they don't live in the Kalispell area? Because it's a great listen.
Adam, thank you so much. First of all, you can follow me on Twitter at NachonSports, NachonSports. You can follow me, see who's coming on the show for one. If you're not in the area, look up the 600 KGEZ app. That's the best way to listen Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. We cover it all here locally in the state of Montana, but we also talk about the NFL. But if you want to hear the best way, check out the 600 KGEZ app. It's free, easy to download, and you can listen to it on any time, live streaming. So that would be the best way if you're not in the area. Otherwise, if you're in the area, make sure you take a listen when you're driving through Kalispell. Like I said, easy on the dial, 600 KGEZ at 3 to 5 p.m. every afternoon.
And if you are going to tune in, really the best time to do it is right around 4:30 Mountain Time on Tuesday.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It definitely is, because I get you guys on, and like I said, it's always great to have you two on and talk about the Seahawks, because I know we got a big contingent of Seahawks fans here in the northwestern part of Montana, and like I said, you guys got a great gig going on over there. I've been with Brandan over at Fat Boys with the Seahawks fans, and really enjoy the atmosphere over there. So, it's kind of funny. I root for the Seahawks when they're not playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so I'm a closet Seahawks fan when the Bucs aren't on the schedule.
Well, it's been a good year for it, because the Seahawks going up against those NFC South teams. And Anthony, really wanted to thank you for coming on, and best of luck to you this weekend. Folks, follow him at NachonSports on Twitter. And thanks again, Anthony.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. You guys do a great job.
On this week's 3 and 3 Out, we celebrate what we are thankful for, including the just-in-time return of a bruising back, the athleticism of our great, not good, QB, and the emergence of a defensive MVP. We'll also talk speedy recoveries, our next men up, and we'll look ahead to some fun in the sun in Tampa Bay. Read this week's article exclusively written for the Seahawkers podcast.
Thanks to Clinton Bonner. Check out his work each week at Seahawkerspodcast.com/3i30. Getting into the second half of the show, and we have a Seahawker spotlight to get to. We're talking to the president of the Tornado Alley Seahawkers, Josh Bay.
You betcha, man. really cool thing that they're doing. And this is an opportunity for all of us 12s to get involved and help out the housing commissioner.
Well, Adam, let's welcome in Josh Bay of the Tornado Alley Seahawkers. He's got a cool fundraiser going on that I think we need to talk about. Josh, how you doing?
Not bad. Yeah.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Doing great.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for coming on. We had to bring on the guy that is president of the Seahawkers chapter with quite possibly the coolest name of all the Seahawkers chapters.
How did the Tornado Alley Seahawkers get started, Josh?
I'm from California, and I lived in Washington, became a Seahawk fan back when I was little in the 80s. I moved out to Oklahoma City in 2010, and I felt like the only one out here, so, I started looking through people on social media, finding different folks, found 7 or 8, and then it multiplied, 8 made 16, 16 made 32, and we got started 2 years ago now.
Very cool. And the reason I brought you on, you have kind of a cool fundraising effort that you guys got going on right now. What is that about?
We're trying to gather enough money to build a home in Haiti. Haiti's been devastated by hurricanes, and a lot of people are doing bad down there. And one of our players, as you guys know, Cliff Averill, I'm a big fan of his. I always love a defensive lineman. Me and my brother were at the Saints game, and my brother kept yelling, build another house for Haiti to Cliff through the crowd. And I woke up a few days later and decided if me and a couple of guys down here could get it started, maybe we could get the word out to Seahawkers across the world, across the nation and all over the world. And it's just grown. We started the event, I think it was less than 2 weeks ago, and we're already at 51% of the 6,500.
So $6,500, that's what it takes to build a house down there. And who do you work with in Haiti then at that point? Do you have a foundation that you're working with, or do you work with Cliff Averill in what he's doing himself, or where do you go from there once you have the money raised?
I researched online, and there's a charity called the News Story Charity, and they have a pledge where you pledge a house with your name on it, and then you can raise the funds and shoot the money right to them in their charity. And I've also emailed the Cliff Averill Foundation, and I'm also working with the Orlando Seahawkers, Central Florida Seahawkers, and they have ties with Cliff Averill. So by the time it's all said and done, I should be working with both charities.
Cliff Averill having a great season. 10 sacks already, 10 houses. And so what are you asking people to, is it any amount that they can donate, or can we get in on this business of for every sack counting for something?
We're having a drawing for each level that you pledge to. So there's the first level is $1 a sack or a $25 flat fee. The second level is a $5 sack, $50 flat fee, and third level is $10 sack, $75 flat fee. And then the fourth and final level is $20 a sack and a $100 flat fee. And we have a lady named Anna Falls, and she's coordinating all of our donations and all of our pledges online through Facebook and through her email. Her email is Gracie Falls, Graciefalls @gmail.com. And she's been really helpful in the whole thing. She has a list of everybody, how much they've pledged, how much they've donated, what club they're from, and we've gotten donations from Germany to Alaska to Hawaii and everywhere in between. So the people that were making pledges per sack, we're going to take his total for the season. We'll also be having raffle for a Cliff Averill autograph jersey. There's a custom jersey in there. We got probably 70, 80 prizes for the autograph and C-Swag drawings. The C-Swag will be the $1 level. The autograph will be the $5 level. Then you got the custom jersey at the $10 level and the Cliff Averill autograph jersey with more prizes to come in each bracket.
Very cool. See, I just need to know at what point do I stop rooting for Cliff Averill to get sacks? Because if it's like 25, then I have to start rooting for him to stop sacking people.
Right. Well, we can always leave it up to people if we hit the goal, we hit the goal. and we can go backwards from there maybe for folks.
Sure.
But as Seahawkers, we should probably keep rooting for Cliff.
Absolutely. No.
Oh, without question. I'm always rooting for the housing commissioner. See, that's what we dubbed him here on the podcast. That's his new nickname. Since he's
great.
Yeah. So, I'm glad that we could be counted in on that. Now, the Tornado Alley Seahawkers, where do you guys meet? Every week, or do you meet, for every game? Where are you guys located exactly, and how often do you get together?
At least once a month, we get together at a local Hooters, and they reserve 70 spots for us. We get discounts on food, and, we do drawings and giveaways. Always handing out cards, finding new people. This is our home base, Oklahoma City, and then we've stretched out from there to Tulsa. I have a leader in each city that does what I do over here. They'll build a watch party and invite all the people from their local area, and then also Wichita and Bentonville, Arkansas.
Very cool. Now, being a guy that is a fan of a Seattle team, is it hard being a fan of a Seattle team living in Oklahoma City, considering what happened to the Sonics with them being there? Is there any conflict of interest for you there?
I catch a lot of flack out here. It's always, you guys we're gonna steal your football team next, or there's always the guys poking and prodding out here. Right now, it's the Cowboys fans.
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden, they're everywhere.
Well, if you want to get more Seahawks fans on board in those areas, where do they go to join your club?
You can get a hold of us online at tornadoalleyseahawkers.com. And then also on Facebook, that's where we're most active. And then anybody with any other questions can always get a hold of me at joshbay@yahoo.com for anything regarding the club or the fundraiser.
Excellent. Well, Josh, really want to thank you for coming on the show, and go Hawks.
Yeah, go Hawks. Thank you.
A big thanks to Josh Bay for coming on the show and talking about the effort that they have going on with the Tornado Alley Seahawkers. Make sure and check that out if you want to help out with that as well. Another thing going on for Seahawkers clubs, especially in the Seattle area, King Street Bar and Oven and the King Street Seahawkers are going to be hosting the 9th annual chili cook-off coming up here Sunday, December 11th. And that's going to be at noon at the King Street Bar and Oven, just right across the street from CenturyLink Field.
Man, I wish I was going to be in Seattle then.
I know.
I love me some chili, and a chili cook. That sounds great.
Yeah, it does.
Man, if you live in the area and you don't go to that, man, do better.
And I know the Renton Seahawkers are doing their annual toy drive as well. So we posted a link to that on our Facebook page. So if you want to help out with their annual toy drive, check out the Renton Seahawkers as well. Got some new members of the flock this week, Adam, and
awesome.
Yeah, they're Tornado Alley Seahawkers. So welcome to the flock to Anna Falls. She's going to be joining us on the Ring of Honor page. Oh, cool. And also, who we just interviewed, Josh Bay, a member of the flock now. Welcome to the flock, Josh.
Cool. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I had no idea when we were talking to him. That's very generous of him. Now, one thing I want to just point out about people getting in the flock and with the Patreon, man, I don't know about you, Brandon, but this last weekend during the game, I had a ball going back and forth with the folks on the Ring of Honor page. I mean, what a cool group of folks. And the discussion is high level. It's fun. And it's also low level. Sometimes it'll just be some poop emojis, but I enjoyed the heck out of it this weekend, maybe more than any other.
Oh, it's a fun group to watch with. And I like how DCH has kind of accepted that role as like the group curmudgeon. Yeah. And because as soon as the Seahawks start to do poorly, he makes sure to throw his 2 cents in there. And it's worked in the past to where the Seahawks have bounced back from the negativity. So it's almost like required now.
Yeah, he reverse jinxes it.
Right.
And it's great. And what I love about it is I don't have to be the curmudgeon for a change.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good for your deal.
It is good for my deal. I appreciate that, DCH. So, yeah, to get into that, there's still spots available, I believe, Brandon. That's $6 a month.
There are, yep.
And we appreciate the donations. It helps make the show go here. So getintheflock.com.
Getintheflock.com. And speaking of our members of the flock, we have a phone call from Aaron Wilson.
Oh, awesome.
Hi guys, this is Aaron from Brandan, Manitoba. I just listened to your podcast about the Patriots game, and I heard that you guys were giving out a rookie card for Christine Michael. My wife and I have been arguing about Christine Michael all season. Every single time I make a criticism of him about one of his many slip-ups, no pun intended, she always defends him and says, oh, he's trying his best, or he's doing all that he can. Here's my question. What can my wife do, or what can I do to win that card for her? I don't think she cares that much, but I think it would just be hilarious for her to have a Christine Michael rookie card. Now, I can tell you this. Last week, my wife got second in the Seahawks podcast Pick'em League. Her team is Polly Lockett's Dream Pod. So if that means anything, she was super proud of her score. I just think it would be hilarious for her to have this card. Lastly, I just upped my Patreon donation to $6 a month. I just love the stuff that you guys do, and I'm excited to be in the Ring of Honor. Keep up the great work, you guys, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks, Aaron. I think, firstly, to speak to the Christine Michael rookie card, I mean, coming in second, having an awesome team name, and upping your Patreon donation, I think that probably gets you the Christine Michael rookie card, doesn't it, Brandon?
I kind of feel like it does. I wasn't sure if maybe we would wait and hold out just to see if more people came in with some better ideas. But so far, it's definitely the best idea that's come in.
Okay. All right. We can do that. And then, so the one other thing, though, with Aaron from Brandan, Manitoba, he needs to start a petition to make it so that you get to be mayor for a day in Brandan, Manitoba. I think that needs to happen. Look, the bar for Canadian mayors is fairly low. You can be a crackhead. Like, you can do all sorts of stuff. I mean, like that dude in Toronto. Remember that guy, Ford?
Yeah, Rob Ford.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. So you're qualified, in my opinion.
Well, do I have to smoke crack to be a mayor of
No, I'm just saying you just have to be
city?
Above that bar. Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have to change the spelling of my name to Brandan to be mayor of Brandan, Manitoba.
No, I think that's what makes the play fun. Is that they're differently spelled.
Okay.
I like that.
Good.
Yeah.
Let's get into reviews. We have one review this week in iTunes from Ross Will.
I wonder who that is.
I don't know. It's going to be tough to decode, but I think we get a hint at it because there's a cat emoji and a fish emoji.
Oh, no.
And the Rams. Catfish the Rams.
Oh, my God. No emojis. God.
Ross says, bar none, the best Seahawks pod. Great dudes, great show. Go Hawks.
Thanks, Ross.
I love that one of the titles is Catfish the Rams. That might be my favorite review now. Thanks, Ross.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, it's great.
Made my day when I saw that.
It did something to my day.
We need more emojis in iTunes
reviews. No. Use your words like a person.
I can't use my emojis in Facebook posts anymore for the initial post. So
that's just not in the title, dude. That was a compromise. That's how two sides with differing views come together.
iTunes reviews was not part of it because I have no control over what the listeners do.
Look, much like the founding fathers, I couldn't see everything that was coming down the pike. Okay. So look, that needs to be in it too. Well, in the body of the review, fine, but not the title.
That you can't stop them, Adam. You can't even hope to contain them. This is out of control now.
Cry for help.
Let's get into some email, Adam.
All righty.
Here's one from Phil McCore. Says, thanks for reading my review. Thanks for directing me toward the app. Holy catfish, this is good. Do I love this app? Yes. That's a callback to your rant against apps. I'm ignoring my kids right now listening to it. Love the format. Just listen to the Eagles pregame, even though we buried that team 2 days ago. You guys don't have to be nice about it. And I'm Canadian. If we're going to bury a team, we're going to bury a team. You can say it. Our Seahawk has a scowl now, not like the nice guy logo from the old days. I think that thing was smiling. Look at our schedule. We're going to crush these teams. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, man. I like that he let us... basically gave us permission to unleash our inner jerk and just and be even more forceful, because I thought I said we were going to crush them.
You did. And if I think this team's going to crush a team, I'll say it. I just don't often think that the Seahawks are going to just go and crush a team because so many of the games that they play are so close. It's hard to predict when they're really going to crush a team.
And the NFL's good. There's a lot of good, healthy competition, no doubt about it.
Our Canadian friend is right. There's going to be some crushing of teams coming down the schedule because the Seahawks, apparently they have the easiest schedule by those who account for those kinds of things.
Right.
But just looking at the records, Tampa 5-5. They're the only team that has a 500 or better record. Everyone else, Carolina 4-6, Green Bay 4-6, LA 4-6, Arizona 4-5-1, and San Fran 1-9.
Well, we know we're losing the Rams.
Well, yes, but we can go 5-1.
Yeah, well, we could. Now, one thing to ask you about that, though, Brandon, just a quick point. We went down the stretch last year against a bunch of lighter weight opponents, and the Seahawks looked really good going down the stretch, and then struggled a bit in Minnesota, and you can attribute that to the cold, and I would probably, be with you on that. But then got, run roughshod over for a half in Carolina before they got their poop in a group and started playing again. Does it concern you at all that you're going to play some relative cupcakes going down the stretch?
I would normally be concerned, but we do have LA coming to Seattle and Arizona coming to Seattle. And I think those two, as long as those two teams stay healthy on the defensive line, that'll just be enough to sharpen our offensive line, just enough going into our 2 bye weeks, which will be at San Fran, and then the real bye that'll be after as we go into our either second or first place spot in the playoffs.
First place spot in the playoffs.
Well, we have to count on the Cowboys to lose, but first place sounds good to me too.
I'm not counting on it. I know it will happen.
Okay.
These guys are getting a little too big for their britches, and they've had some close games the last few games, and everybody just thinks that Dak Prescott's just going to, rule the league instantly.
Well, because the Seahawks are going to lose to the Rams, the Cowboys are going to have to lose 3 of their last 6 games.
It's doable.
It can happen.
Yeah, very much so. Sean Lee could get hurt any day now.
Yeah, you keep saying that.
Because it's true. If he plays the entire year, I'll eat my hat.
Okay. You're just making all kinds of bad bets this
Well, everybody
season.
knows that's a turn of phrase and not a real bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not really going to eat a hat.
No, not the lucky hat. It's blasphemy. It'd be like cannibalism.
Email here from Garrett in Espanola says, I hate prevent defense. It always leaves a bad taste after 55 minutes of great ball. If anybody doesn't think we are the best team in the NFL, then they clearly haven't watched a Seahawks game. Defense, special teams, and offense is simply better in every way. I don't care what the stats say, even though we own most of the stats out there. Oh, did anyone else see the Grim Reaper out there? How many injuries? Seriously fun to be a Seahawks fan and watch the games. I love me some second half of the year Seahawks football. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, Garrett. And I think Garrett must be a producer for many of the national shows out there because here in the last couple of days, I've been hearing a lot of talk of the idea that the Seahawks are indeed the best team in the NFL because they're right. They finally have caught on because Garrett hit it on the head. There's nobody that is more balanced defense, offense, special teams than the Seahawks and has more depth. It's easily the Hawks.
And another thing he mentions, he says, I listen to your shows on the iOS app. Would you rather me listen on iTunes? What listening method helps you guys out the most? And Garrett, I would say you listen to the way you like the show the best. That's why we have so many avenues for you to listen to the show. If you like listening on Stitcher, if you like listening on iHeartRadio or Tune In, there's all those places. So if you like to get your shows at a certain place, or if you like the app too, that's cool too. I know Adam mentioned hitting subscribe in iTunes helps us out quite a bit, but you can subscribe in iTunes and download the show there, but also listen to the show the way you normally like too.
Yeah, whatever blows your hair back, man. You do you. You do you.
Email here from John Davison says, hi, fellas. First of all, many thanks for the stickers which arrived today. See Facebook. They were very much appreciated and they look great. I will pass on the duplicates and might even give them to Barry.
Oh,
but
good.
He has to sponsor you as well as a result.
Fair. That's fair.
Well, I think I enjoyed Sunday evening and felt we would never lose it, but the consequences of it were a bit harsh. Just when you thought we were getting back, we go 3 forward and 2 back. I listened to Bronkensalk with Pete Carroll on their podcast, and he was raving about how well the O-line played. Well, they will have bigger challenges than this on the way, but Then I went on to Pro Football Focus, and sure enough, on the worst team of the week, there is Gary Gilliam.
Yep.
Pete, too enthusiastic, or PFF, too harsh, or the truth somewhere in between. Your thoughts on this? Lastly, I would like to say well done on the new listeners you are getting, but a couple of points of complaint. Why did everyone who joined slot in above me in the Pick'ems League? And why are all these people emailing in and taking over my slot? Not that it bothers me or anything. Just read my name out every week. Go Hawks from John.
So basically, at the end of the show now, are we going to have to be, there's two things left to say, and it'll be Go Hawks and just say John Davidson?
Yeah. Just to get
to make John feel good?
Yeah. Well, and maybe we need to dedicate a whole podcast to reading John's book.
Oh, yes. We could definitely do that.
And maybe that would make up for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm spitballing
Well,
here.
It does populate my my coffee table. John's book does, because it's pretty sweet. And then, hey, look, man, there's maybe other people that are emailing the show, which is great. But John, you're one of the OGs, dude.
That's true.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that because you are an OG, and nobody else can take that from you.
At all, ever.
Here's one from Michael in Virginia Beach. You know, Michael driving aircraft carriers over there in Virginia Beach.
All right.
Great game against the Eagles. I had a blast all game long. The touchdown pass from Dougie to Russ was awesome. Was excited to see Rawls get physical and move the ball with some authority. I was super pumped to watch Procise set a record at the Clink. I hope that he has an expedient return to form. I've seen the list of available running backs out there. My question for you, fine gentlemen, is which do you believe has a good chance to get some looks from this team, and who do you think would be the best fit for the team? Appreciate your insight into the only team that matters. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, man. He's right about the Baldwin throw. I mean, that was a sexy D Baldwin.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty impressive. Now, as far as the running backs go, I think it'll be generic George Farmer. That's my guess.
And George Farmer, a guy that played defense as well, because wasn't he a defensive back before becoming?
Play?
Yeah, I know, just a versatile guy.
Yeah, he's got Tanner McAvoy skills.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and he's out with a toe injury too. Man,
I know.
Our guys need to get better.
Yeah, they were good. Well, going into last week, we were good.
I know.
Like except for Bennett, and he was like getting close.
Right.
And then I don't know what happened, man. There's some bad juju going on.
Bad juju. Yeah. But yeah, George Farmer, Zach Brooks. That looks like who we're going to be rolling with. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know who we go to after that, like Demetrius Bronson. Do we start looking at backs that what does it take to get to Marshawn Lynch? That's all I'm going to say.
It takes a time machine.
Time machine.
That's
Great.
what it takes. Yeah. I'd say maybe what does it take to trade for Spencer Ware?
Okay. Well, you can't trade after the trade deadline, so that could be a challenge.
You can if you're super sneaky. Yeah, you're right. All right, don't bother me with your facts, logic, and reason.
Yeah, I know. Well, going back to, I think we covered John Davison's topic about Gary Gilliam and PFF.
Oh, yes.
Because, it's definitely somewhere in between, right? Because you can't have PFF saying one thing and Football Outsider saying another.
Well, you can. Apparently, it doesn't even cause a hole in the space-time continuum or anything.
Yeah, nobody got sucked in, apparently.
No, it's fine.
Last one here from Brett in Sydney. I was wondering if you guys could comment more on the departure of Christine Michael. I'm guessing that Pete Carroll probably regrets getting rid of him, given their current running back situation. Seemed a bit premature given their lack of depth at the position.
Yeah, and we talked about that a little earlier as well, but man, I don't know how you could have seen this coming. Because honestly, when you looked at me last week and said, you got healthy Rawls, healthy Procise, healthy Pope, do you want to keep C-Mike? I'd have said, don't let the door hit you. That's what I would have said. I agree with the decision. But in hindsight, yeah, it stinks.
Yeah. So thanks to the email from Brett in Sydney.
Yeah.
All right. What do you say we get into some do better and better at life, Adam?
Sounds good, man. Well, my do better this week, Brandon, is for a phenomena. Not a person. This is something I've been seeing pop up on the Facebooks and, TV or wherever. It's the mannequin challenge. This is stupid. Who decided this was a thing? All right, everybody just freeze. We take a video. How hilarious. Like, how is that even a challenge? You just have to stand still. Like that's not hard. I mean, it's not like the ice bucket challenge where like you actually had to like survive some cold water being poured on you, and that was for a cause too, right? Like there was something for that. No, this is a challenge for no reason. And everybody thinks it's hilarious. You got people just standing around like mannequins. I don't get it. I just think it's dumb, and they should do better.
This is like the planking of 2016.
The what?
Planking. Remember when people posted
planking?
When people laid out flat on things a few years back and posted those videos?
No, but that sounds equally as stupid.
Yeah.
If you as a culture have enough time to do things like the mannequin challenge, your first world problems are good problems, man. It's just, I can't, we do something productive.
My do better this week is for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, Adam, they prepared for the game at CenturyLink this week by pumping in crowd noise in their indoor practice field. They pumped in the indoor crowd noise at 100 decibels. And maybe they don't know how decibels work. But
clearly,
if you're preparing to go into a stadium known for its noise, and you're only pumping in 100 decibels. Now, maybe their sound system only goes up to 100 decibels. But if you go to 110 decibels, that's 10 times louder than 100 decibels. That's how quickly it starts to multiply. So what you're doing to your team by only turning it up to 100 decibels, that's like the difference of turning your volume knob on your speakers to 1 and then for the real thing, turning it all the way up to 10, and it only goes as high as 10. So that's the difference it makes. So whoever decided that 100 decibels was enough going into a game against the Seattle Seahawks in CenturyLink Field, they need to do better.
Yeah, they don't understand exponential things.
No.
So it sounds like it's a lot like the Richter scale, right? Like, I mean, the difference between, a 8.5 and a 9.2 is actually a gigantic difference.
Yeah, it's not like the difference on a thermometer where the difference between 100
incremental
120 and 130. There's really no difference. It's just hot.
Yeah, that's stupid hot at that point.
It's the difference between 10 degrees and 100 degrees.
Maybe
that's a
they're
big
afraid
difference.
of.
That's 10 times warmer.
Maybe they're afraid of the players of suing later for like hearing loss or something like that.
Well, that's why I think last year you saw other teams come in and wearing hearing protection, and maybe that's how you do it.
Yeah, they went to 100, and what they failed to take into account is we crank it all the way up to 12.
Right.
Screwed it up.
Bad mistake, but I'll take that win.
Yeah, tough break for them.
All right, my better at life this week, Adam, for Joe Thomas Sr. and not the Joe Thomas of the. Who's the offensive lineman for the Browns? No, Joe Thomas Jr. is a Packers linebacker.
Okay.
And his dad this last week is believed to have made history by becoming the oldest player to play in a Division I college football game.
Holy smokes. I saw the headline, right? He's like 55?
Yeah, Joe Thomas Sr., 55. He got a carry for South Carolina. It's an FCS school. South Carolina State. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And got 3 yards, and he made history. The last time that Thomas played in a football game was back in 1980. 1980, wow. Adam, when he was in high school.
So is this basically, you're looking at this and thinking beast mode could be back any day now? Is that how you feel? Like if you can take that long off and still play? Like,
Marshawn,
come back anytime?
Marshawn, all I'm saying is that Joe Thomas Sr. is like 25 years older than you.
How did this happen? Like, I mean, was this based on a dare? Like, did the coach lose a bet? Like, what happened?
He decided that this was something he was going to do.
So he went and walked on and made the team, and they decided to play him for a down?
It's kind of one of those things when somebody tells you can't do something and you're going to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, well, good for him, man. That's impressive because at 37, I can't imagine doing that.
No,
not at all.
No, for sure. Yeah. And yeah, he was a walk-on, but able to do it. He got in there. They gave him a shot.
Wow. Was he he must have been enrolled in the college then too or something. That's crazy town.
Yeah.
Well, good for him, man. Well done, Joe Thomas. Better at life than Skip Bayless.
Indeed.
All right. My better at life than Skip Bayless this week is gonna blow your little mind, Brandon. You never thought you would hear this. But we talk about sports hate a lot. And all of us know that I sports hate the hell out of Bruce Arians. I hate him so much with all the sports hate in the world. But turns out this week had some heart issues or chest tension or something like that, ends up in the hospital. And to show that it is indeed just sports hate, Bruce Arians released from the hospital today and doing better. And that makes me unbelievably happy that I get to have his stupid hats on the sideline to make the sports hate real and to make those matchups even more fun for me. And the fact that, again, that he's healthy and doing okay, that makes him better at life than skipping.
Well, I think we were all a little bit bummed when we saw that report come out that he was at the hospital and hoping that he would be okay. Just because, on game day, when you see him turning as red as his clothing, you do kind of worry about him sometimes. And but he tweeted out after the game, said, "Thank you for all the well wishes, thoughts, and prayers. I'm doing good. Everything checked out okay. Happy to be back with the guys." So, yes, he's back with the guys. And now we can continue to sports hate him all the way through when the Cardinals don't make the playoffs this year.
That's exactly right, because you can almost put a fork in him, man. It's getting close. And see, Larry Fitzgerald thinks that part of his chest tension is partly the players' fault for their performance this year, and he feels personally responsible. So
Larry has nothing to worry about. Some of his teammates might, though.
That's what all I'm saying. Well, the GM has something to worry about because he's the one who decided that they were going to rely on old man Palmer.
But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with just having this nice, comfortable lead, enough padding that when we do lose our second game to the Rams, that it'll be okay.
So are you? We're basically trying to pull a DCH here with this second Rams game, right? Okay. All right.
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing.
All right. I'm sorry.
But hopefully now you didn't jinx it.
Jinx what? Look, it sounds like we need to get out of here, man. It sounds like we need to shut up.
It does.
So I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Thanks for tuning in to this week's show. As we mentioned, if you want to help support the show, you can go to getintheflock.com, but there's other ways to support the show too. You can go to Seahawkerspodcast.com/support. If you're going to a away game and want tickets, you can go there. There's plenty of other things. Or if you're looking for that next Seahawks jersey, go to Fanatics and you can click on our link at Seahawkerspodcast.com/support. Get your gear through there, and a little percentage kicks back to the show.
You bet, man. That's, again, you're doing it anyways. So hook a brother up. I don't know. That's too much to ask.
Seahawkerspodcast.com/support. Thanks again for supporting the show.